Hello, everybody. With great difficulty, we've made it. We've actually made it. Bear with one moment. It's getting freaking warm in here. Just fix that problem at the expense of a little bit of noise. Bear with. This is a problem. No worries, I just made the classic British mistake of picking the worst possible house to live in under the worst possible landlord. And as a result, there have been many issues concerning heating, noise, many other things. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, what everyone's been waiting for. A live stream of the Chaos Engine Game Jam. So what is the Chaos Engine Game Jam? Well, it's a little jam that I organized with some prodding from fellow members of the Game Development League and some of my friends. But I was super interested in finding a game that balanced the concept of emergence with playability. And what's emergence? Well, if you guys have ever played a game like Dwarf Fortress or RimWorld, it's a pretty immersive sim, right? There's this world, there's all these characters moving around doing their own thing, and the story isn't pre-written. You observe it happening. If you weren't there, there would be no one to interpret the story. And so the emergent games put the power to understand the game. Let me rephrase that. They give the player the power to play the game how they want. And that's kind of really what I'm going for here. And so obviously, we have some rules that are kind of important. The game must be emergent, use existing code, but meat of your game must be made during the jam. So we're trying to keep things small, trying to make sure that things don't blow out of proportion. It tends to happen sometimes. Creativity, out of the box thinking are highly encouraged, and that's kind of the main thing I'm looking for. When I put out the rules, I really wanted people to kind of, try and break them, or at least, look at them from outside the box. Very loud people. So I wanted people to try and break the rules, or at least reimagine them in ways that toe the line. So someone puts out a text-based game, or if someone puts out, say, Emergent Tetris, that would be quite interesting, and that would be something that I don't think a lot of people would see coming. Your game has to be fun to play, so it can't be schlop, right? You can't just put a bunch of actors in a room and expect the player to make sense of it, right? It's like going to a really boring party. It's got to be fun. You shouldn't really know what you're going to expect, but as you're playing the game, things should start to make sense. Single player or multiplayer is allowed. Obviously, no discrimination there. No NSFW content. This is being live streamed. The video is going to be made to be put later on YouTube and elsewhere. Your game must be playable in under 1 hour, so short, focused experiences are ideal. No purely random outcomes. So you don't want a game that's a random simulation, right? You don't want something that is seemingly just a series of events. How do I put this? How do I distinguish between a truly random game and a game that has sort of playful emergence? Let's think of it like this. So a cellular automata, right, has those finite rules, like Conway's Game of Life. Pixels move around based on whether or not pixels are active around them. And then you tend to see these things that look like spaceships and robots, moving around and that looks pretty cool. But it's not really random, and there is a sort of process. You'll see things build up over time. Whereas in a random game, I think it would almost be like, you might have a biome of different animals, and the animals can all eat each other, and they probably have different speed stats. Well, that's a very boring game where the random interactions, right? You might have a bear eat a fish, but you might also see a fish eat a bear, and then you'll question, right, is this really emergent, or is this a coincidence that's not really a happy accident? More on this later. I think as we play games, we'll be able to delve into whether or not they toe the line. Speaking about it generically is a bit difficult. Now, no infinite idle games. What's a good example of an idle game? Well, Conway's Game of Life is pretty much an idle game. You wait for things to happen, and you want to have some level of meaningful decision making. So, player has to be involved. This is really important. It might be the most amazing simulation I've ever seen, but if the player isn't involved and doesn't have an active role, then that's not what we're going to be looking for. So the theme, as I said, accidents welcome. So unexpected results from and unintended consequences from the interaction of different systems within your game. So the best parts are things that you might not have necessarily planned, and that means you have to think about things a bit differently. And the prize pool have already been announced. First prize is $200, second prize $100, and third prize $50. This will be the first of many jams, and hopefully a better prize pool if we can get some sponsors for the next one. Now, judging criteria. We'll go over this once, and obviously, if there are any questions, we can go a bit deeper. But bear with while I just check on my stream to see whether or not I am live. I want to make sure that I'm not getting punked by YouTube and Restream. Okay, so I am alive. But I can't find my stream on YouTube, which is a bit of a problem. Let me see what okay, there we are, live March 3rd. I might need to open this up just so I can see the chats. Hey Samly, hey Lupici, it's good to see you guys. Alright, so there we go with the chat. Just got some weird internet issues, so it's every now and then it's cutting out. Give me one moment while I find a way to charge this phone, because if it dies, I'll get screwed. I'm not sure why this is unplugged. That probably is a good reason. I think the worst thing that Apple ever did was remove the USB ports, because everything comes with a friggin' USB port. All right. So, judging criteria. Emergent gameplay. Do the different mechanics create interesting and unexpected interactions? Simple question of whether they do or don't. And if they do, how well? Oh, why are there so many cows in my channel? So Cambridge is actually known for having a massive cow population. And these cows are allowed to roam the streets. But here's the thing. They don't really cross into the streets. They tend to stay on the pastures. And there's these things called cow grates. And so every day when I walked out of my house, I walk past those cows. So I think it's a pretty good representation of what I see on my daily life. So that should answer your question, right? So we'll be judging the games, comparing them on the basis of whether or not their mechanics create interesting, unexpected interactions. There'll be like a surprise factor that I assign to each game on the basis of this. Does the game encourage players to explore and discover rather than follow a rigid script? So I, like many others, enjoy breaking games in any way possible by going to places I'm not supposed to go. It all started with the series of motocross X games where you could drive off the road, go up this hill-like thing, and then you get booted off the map, basically punished for going too far. Like missions in what do you call it? Well, there's Noid Out, right, where you can walk all the way off the map, and then you find this little thing with a tablet that you can destroy. But it's Easter eggs like that. If I see something like that, makes me feel really, 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 really good. Let's have a look. So, fun and engagement. Is a game enjoyable to play even when things go off the rails? It should be. There's like times in RimWorld where, I'm like, oh, everyone needs to survive. Everyone needs to, be happy, this, that. And then things start going to shit. It's like everyone's become a vampire. And I'm like, well, I'm still playing because I'm having fun with where I am right now. And that's kind of the thing, if you're afraid of a transition, the game forces you to go through it and then you enjoy where you are afterwards. I think that adds a lot of value to your game. I'd like to know what you think about that, Samly. And do emergent moments feel rewarding and connected to the gameplay? So when something emergent happens, do you feel like, hell yeah, I want to play this game again? That's what we're aiming for. So the dopamine hit that you get, the rush from playing a game and discovering something new, right? If the emergence can be tied into that, right? If the player's rewarded, they'll play more. And if they play more, you reward them more. You can normally do this in standard games by scripting things, right? You can script that whole cycle of reward. But in emergent games, it's more about tuning the systems so that you're not rewarding the player too often. You're not rewarding the player too little. And so based on how well I can tell that the developers have gone into analyzing this, I'll assign them a score with respect to this. But obviously, we can see there's a little hierarchy here. Emerging gameplay is a lot more important than the engagement, and that's a lot more important than the creativity and innovation. But the creativity and innovation is still a massive part. So again, if you put a simulation out, the emerging gameplay, you'd probably get tops on that, but then the creativity and innovation, it's a question of, are you doing something new that I haven't seen before? And if you are, great. So replayability variety, does the game feel fresh with each playthrough? This is something that I can kind of gauge. I won't be testing this in the live stream, but what I will do is, play it a couple of times, have a couple of people that I know, so-called panel, play it, and we then have a discussion and we decide, well, what's a variety in the gameplay, right? With RimWorld, there's all these different stratas, but then RimWorld's such a massive game. So with a game that you can make in about a week, right, are there enough moving parts to create new experiences every time? Well, they don't need to be new experiences every single time, but if you can get that feeling of new experience, at least for the first few times you play, that's what I'm looking for. And finally, polish and playability. Is the game functional and reasonably bug-free? I would hope so. If it does have bugs, it's not going to make or break this. I think with smaller game jams, bugs are the least of my issues. What I'm more concerned about is whether or not there's scope for it to be improved in the future, right? Polish and playability, does it effectively communicate how to play without excessive hand-holding? So you kind of want to be able to figure out things intuitively. So if there's a big tutorial or something, it's not going to be as accidental. The navigation through the game needs to be more accidental. Can you use a pre-existing engine or framework? Of course. Can I work with a team? Absolutely. But I think everyone here has worked solo, which is quite impressive. And what platforms can I submit to? Ideally, make it playable on Windows, Mac, or web. Game requires special setup, provide clear instructions. I've got a Mac. Windows games will be tested tomorrow, unfortunately, due to some issues. Although, if we're lucky, we might just be able to get them to play today. We just have to bear with and see whether or not my colleague can show up with a certain cable and certain set of screws. All right. And with that, we should have pretty decent connectivity. The only case in which I would be concerned is if both mobile networks and the backup broadband that I'm connected to shut off. Okay, one moment. This Mac is no longer charging my phone. So before this dies, let me utilize it's not really rest in peace, but it's more just there's an issue with NVIDIA that causes hard drives to mark sectors as bad, but you can still access them. There's no problem with that whatsoever. And because of that, and the fact that my hard drive is full, looks like what do you call it? It made the boot device inaccessible. So, in setting up my old system, found out that a couple of things are actually wrong with it, and I'm sorting them right now. So back to this, right? Can I submit a physics sandbox? Only if it has actual gameplay. So like a falling sand game isn't enough, but Noida is. If you get it, that's the distinction I'm trying to make. Can my game have AI-driven emergence? 100% yes. So AI, procedural generation, physics, stems, anything that leads to unscripted surprises is encouraged. Someone asked me, can undefined behavior cause unscripted surprises? If you can somehow manage that undefined behavior, which is a weird way of saying it, by all means, right? And if your bugs in the game are manageable to some degree, I don't know how you do this, that'll be great. Lapici, not at all. I think it's a stepping stone, right? It's not like you have to, make GTA 6 in your first go or whatever. But it will be nice if someone has done something like that. So submissions. Okay. We have a bunch of these. Chat. Which one shall we look at first? Just bear in mind the Windows games will have to wait a bit. So Swap Ninja, Inocules, or Cubed? I'll let you choose. Cast your vote! Inocules. Is that Cube, the shapes one? No, that's Okay, Inocules it is. Prickly Pear Games. Emergent synthetic chemistry comes to life. Alright, so here you can see a very interesting UI. Can everyone see this? Do I need to zoom in? Yes, I probably do. Okay, there we go. Interesting. So, mutation down, mutation up. Okay, these are buttons. Whoa, I shouldn't have started just yet, I think. Oh, I need to add nodes. Okay. So 2 rotation nodes, probably not the way to go. Let's have a look at this. Right. So, structural node, no cost, no special value, just structure. Rotation node, we'll refresh this real quick, just so, okay. That's just a bone. Rotation node is a rotor, like a rotational joint, I guess. Head node pulls other components, cannot be eaten. It's propulsion and armor. Rotational head, it's same thing, I guess, just fancy. Production node. High energy production. Energy is needed for replication of any components. I'm not sure what it does here, but replication of components? Oh, I see. So I guess they can replicate these other nodes, I think, and generate them over time. I'm not sure. Is energy not needed to use these nodes? Like I'd assume the rotational node uses energy to rotate. Tooth node. Medium cost, eats other components, gains energy as a predator, can't be eaten. So, that's like carnivores have the tooth node. Armor node, that's just like an armadillo, a protective herbivore type thing. Or an alligator. Okay, let's pick an animal. Let's pick an animal, and we'll try and recreate the animal in this friggin' thing. So, we'll make it capable of reproduction, because if they're not, then the mutation rate seems to slow down in general, I think. Produces some energy, increases lifespan. No, you know what? We'll keep them they live short lives like mayflies. Armored piston, probably not that. Pushes competence. It's like I don't know. I don't know what that does, really. Anchor node. Holds fast. Okay, so it holds on to things. So like mosquito babies holding on to the surface of water. I see there's like an analogy for all these different kinds of animals and organisms. Okay, so we have a reproduction node. We'll put down a tooth node, make them carnivorous, give it a head, give it some structure nodes, and production. And we'll see what this does. We'll actually increase the mutation rate. 3%. Okay, he's balanced that, I think. I'm just assuming. Did I break it a bit? What's going on there? Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So that is an organism. Reminds me of one of those self-replicating polypeptides. Basically like clusters of chemicals that can reassemble and make copies of themselves. People theorize that they're the origin of life, the first primitive life form. I think there were some controls for how to... Whoa. How do I switch back from that? Can I? Oh, I guess I don't need to. So I can speed this up apparently with O and P. So O speeds things up. These things just kind of... Look at that. Look at that. That guy just ate the two. And now this guy's shaped a bit differently. Look at him. He's speeding up. Let's see if I can slow this down just a bit and we can see the finer interactions. So this is just marvelous. I mean, obviously from the first minute or so, I can already tell. I don't think there's a game per se here, but I think this could very easily be turned into a game. Because the moment you have an objective, I don't know, keep the population alive for this period of time,